In the whirlwind of modern life, where the demands and distractions are endless, finding peace can often feel like an impossible task, akin to searching for a needle in a haystack. From the moment we wake up, we are bombarded with information, responsibilities, and constant connectivity that pull our minds in countless directions. The cacophony of daily life, work pressures, social obligations, and personal anxieties creates an environment of perpetual chaos. Our minds, already burdened by this external noise, become restless, and our thoughts scatter like leaves in a storm. Yet, amidst this relentless hustle and bustle, the quest for inner peace remains a universal desire. What if there was a simple, yet profoundly effective trick to find serenity in the midst of all this chaos? Imagine being able to calm the turbulent sea of your mind, finding a quiet island of tranquility, no matter how stormy the waters around you might be. This story of a Zen master and his visitor offers such a solution. It is a tale that transcends time and culture, providing a timeless lesson on the power of mindfulness. The Zen master's wisdom, distilled through a simple yet powerful exercise, holds the key to transforming how we perceive and handle our thoughts. By embracing this practice, we can unlock a profound sense of peace and clarity, even in the most chaotic of circumstances. As you read through this story, you will discover how the Zen master guided his distressed visitor towards a path of mindful observation, demonstrating that peace is not found by suppressing our thoughts, but by understanding and accepting them. This tale is not just a narrative, it is a guide that can change the way you approach your own thoughts and emotions. In a world where the external chaos seems unending, this lesson on mindfulness offers a beacon of hope. It shows that by shifting our focus inward and learning to observe our thoughts without attachment, we can find a sanctuary of calm within ourselves. So, let us embark on this journey with the Zen master and his visitor and explore the transformative power of mindfulness that lies within our reach. Through this story, you will learn that peace is not a distant dream, but a present reality, accessible through the simple act of mindful observation. One day, as the sun began to set behind the mountains, casting a golden hue over the Zen monastery, a man hurriedly made his way up the winding path. His face was a tapestry of worry and exhaustion, etched deeply with the lines of his troubled mind. His eyes, though filled with a flicker of hope, were overshadowed by the weight of his burdens. He approached the serene Zen master, who sat calmly under a blossoming cherry tree, meditating in the gentle evening breeze. "Master," the man began, his voice trembling with desperation, "my life is engulfed in chaos. My thoughts are like a raging storm, never ceasing, always swirling. I cannot find a moment of peace, and my mind races endlessly, wearing me down. Please, I beg of you, give me a way to find peace and reduce this unbearable stress." The Zen master, a figure of tranquility and wisdom, opened his eyes and looked deeply into the man's troubled gaze. He could see the turmoil within, the relentless whirlpool of thoughts that tormented him. With a gentle nod, he acknowledged the man's suffering and gestured for him to sit down on a smooth stone nearby. The man obliged, his movements hurried but hopeful. The Zen master took a moment, breathing deeply, allowing the stillness of the moment to envelop them both. Then, with a voice as soothing as the rustling leaves, he spoke. "My friend, I understand your plight. The mind can be a restless beast, but there is a way to tame it. Start practicing mindfulness every day. Sit quietly, focus on your breath, and observe your thoughts without judgment." He paused, letting his words sink in, then continued, "By being mindful, by simply watching your thoughts come and go like passing clouds, your mind will gradually begin to calm. It will be like a turbulent river that over time smooths out into a serene stream. This practice will lead you to peace, one breath at a time. The man's expression softened slightly, a glimmer of understanding dawning in his eyes. He nodded slowly, taking in the master's words, feeling a spark of hope reignite within him. The journey to peace, he realized, would require patience and persistence, but with the Zen master's guidance, he felt ready to begin. However, as the initial glimmer of hope began to dim, the man sighed deeply, his shoulders sagging under the weight of his despair. "Master," he confessed, his voice tinged with frustration and exhaustion, "I have tried to be mindful, just as you said, but every time I attempt to focus, my thoughts overwhelm me even more. It's as if the act of trying to be still only stirs up more chaos within me. Instead of finding peace, I find myself drowning in an endless flood of thoughts, making me even more restless." The Zen master, a picture of serene understanding, nodded knowingly. He could see the struggle etched across the man's face, the battle waged within his restless mind. With a compassionate smile, he reached out and gently placed a hand on the man's shoulder, conveying his empathy through his touch. "My dear friend," the Zen master began, his voice a soothing balm, "what you are experiencing is a very common phenomenon. In the beginning, practicing mindfulness can indeed seem to stir up a storm of thoughts. This happens because, as you start to observe your mind, you become more aware of its activity. It's like walking into a dark room and turning on the light. Suddenly, you see all the dust particles swirling in the air that you couldn't see before." He paused, letting the analogy settle in the man's mind. The man listened intently, feeling a sense of validation and relief in the master's words. The Zen master continued, "This initial surge of thoughts can feel overwhelming, but it is a crucial part of the process. It is your mind's way of bringing hidden thoughts and unresolved emotions to the surface. Do not be discouraged. Persist with your practice. Be patient with yourself. Over time, as you continue to observe your thoughts without attaching to them, without judging them, you will notice a gradual change." His voice, calm and reassuring, seemed to wrap around the man like a warm blanket. "Imagine a snow globe," the master said. "When you shake it, the flakes swirl chaotically, but if you set it down and allow it to be still, the flakes eventually settle. Your mind works in the same way. If you persist with mindfulness, despite the initial turmoil, you will find that your thoughts begin to settle, and a profound sense of peace will emerge." The man nodded, feeling a renewed sense of hope and determination. The Zen master's wisdom had not only acknowledged his struggle, but had also given him a clear path forward. He understood now that mindfulness was a journey, one that required persistence and patience. With the master's guidance, he felt ready to face the storm within, trusting that calm waters lay ahead. Seeing the deep lines of distress still etched across the man's face, the Zen master realized that more guidance was needed. The initial advice, though well received, had not fully alleviated the man's overwhelming anxiety. The master understood that sometimes a more tangible exercise was necessary to illustrate a profound truth. With a serene smile, the master leaned closer to the man, his eyes twinkling with a mix of wisdom and mischief. In a hushed tone, as if sharing a secret meant only for the man's ears, he said, "I will give you a special exercise. Focus on your breath. Breathe in and out slowly. But there is one important condition. Whatever you do not think about a tiger." The man looked at the master, his expression shifting from confusion to curiosity. The simplicity of the instruction seemed almost absurd, yet the master's tone carried such gravity that he couldn't help but take it seriously. "A tiger?" he repeated, trying to comprehend the significance of such a peculiar directive. The Zen master nodded, his face composed and serious. "Yes, a tiger. Do not think about it while you focus on your breath," he reiterated, the corners of his mouth lifting slightly, as if hinting at a deeper meaning hidden within his words. Though puzzled, the man felt a glimmer of hope. This instruction, however strange, was a direct and clear task, something he could focus on. He expressed his gratitude, bowing deeply to the master. "Thank you, master. I will follow your instructions diligently," he said, his voice filled with renewed determination. With that, the man rose to his feet, feeling a mixture of relief and anticipation. He left the tranquil garden of the monastery, the master's cryptic words echoing in his mind. As he walked down the winding path, the serene image of the Zen master and the rustling of the cherry blossoms seemed to stay with him, providing a sense of calm he hadn't felt in a long time. Determined to find peace, he decided to put the master's instruction into practice as soon as he got home. Little did he know that this seemingly simple exercise would lead him to a profound understanding of his own mind, a journey that would transform his approach to thoughts and inner peace forever. At home, the man eagerly settled into a quiet corner, choosing a serene spot away from the distractions of daily life. He arranged a small cushion on the floor, sat down comfortably, and closed his eyes. The room was bathed in the soft glow of the setting sun, and a gentle breeze wafted through the open window, carrying the faint scent of blooming flowers. With a deep breath, he began to focus on his breath, inhaling slowly, then exhaling, feeling the rhythm of life flow through him. For a moment, there was calm. The man's mind began to settle, the usual cacophony of thoughts momentarily quieted by the simple act of mindful breathing. But then, like a whisper in the back of his mind, he remembered the Zen master's words, "Do not think about a tiger." Almost immediately, his tranquility was shattered. Vivid images of tigers began to flood his mind, tigers prowling in dense jungles, their fierce eyes glinting in the darkness, their powerful bodies moving with lethal grace. The more he tried to push these images away, the more they seemed to pounce, filling every corner of his consciousness with their vibrant, intrusive presence. He shook his head slightly, trying to dispel the thoughts, but it was no use. The tigers were relentless, appearing more vividly with each attempt to suppress them. They were no longer just images. They became living, breathing creatures in his mind, stalking him in his thoughts. The quiet corner he had chosen now felt like a cage, with tigers lurking in every shadow. Frustration mounted as he battled these relentless thoughts. His mind, calming, became a battleground. The tigers, symbols of the very chaos he sought to escape, were now his constant companions. He tried different tactics, focusing more intently on his breath, reciting calming phrases, even opening his eyes briefly to break the spell. But nothing worked. The tigers roared louder, their presence more imposing with every effort to banish them. His breathing became shallow and erratic, his heart pounding with the exertion of this mental struggle. The peaceful exercise had transformed into a nightmarish ordeal. The more he fought, the stronger the tigers seemed to become, each attempt to suppress them only feeding their power. As night fell, the man's exhaustion grew. He felt defeated, trapped in a mental labyrinth where every path led back to the tigers. The serene environment he had created now seemed mocking, a stark contrast to the turmoil within. The master's simple instruction had turned into a relentless mental assault, leaving him more restless than ever. Desperate and weary, the man realized that he needed to seek the master's guidance once more. He could not understand why this exercise had backfired so spectacularly. but he knew that the master's wisdom held the key to unlocking the peace he so desperately sought. With a heavy heart, he resolved to return to the Zen monastery at first light, hoping to unravel the mystery of the tigers and find the calm that continued to elude him. The next day, as dawn broke and painted the sky with hues of pink and gold, the man, now frustrated and exhausted, retraced his steps back to the Zen monastery. The once calming path now felt heavy under his feet, each step weighed down by the mental turmoil he had endured. His eyes, bloodshot from a sleepless night, reflected the deep unrest that had taken root in his mind. Upon reaching the monastery, he found the Zen master sitting in the same tranquil spot under the blossoming cherry tree, a serene smile playing on his lips. The sight of the master, so calm and composed, brought a fleeting sense of relief to the man's troubled heart. Without waiting for the master to acknowledge him, he blurted out, "Master, your instruction has only made things worse. My mind is now filled with tigers, and I cannot find peace." The Zen master looked up, his eyes meeting the man's with a gaze full of understanding and compassion. He gestured for the man to sit beside him, and as the man complied, the master could see the exhaustion etched into every line of his face, the desperation in his eyes. "My dear friend," the Zen master began softly, "tell me what happened." The man took a deep breath, recounting the previous night's ordeal. "I followed your instructions. I focused on my breath, but as soon as I remembered not to think about a tiger, my mind was overrun with them. The more I tried to push the tigers away, the more they seemed to dominate my thoughts. It was as if I was being attacked by these mental images, and no matter what I did, I couldn't escape them. I am more restless now than before." The Zen master listened patiently, nodding occasionally, his expression never wavering from one of gentle empathy. When the man finished, the master spoke, his voice calm and steady. "What you have experienced is a powerful lesson about the nature of the mind. Our minds are like wild animals. The more you try to forcefully control them, the more they resist. By telling you not to think of a tiger, I knew your mind would cling to that thought. This exercise was meant to show you the futility of suppressing your thoughts." He continued, "When we try to force our minds into submission, it only creates more chaos. The more you resist a thought, the more power you give it. Your struggle with the tigers is a reflection of this principle. The mind is naturally curious and rebellious. When you tell it not to do something, it does exactly that." The man listened intently, starting to grasp the deeper meaning behind the master's instruction. The Zen master went on, "Instead of fighting your thoughts, learn to observe them without attachment. Let them come and go like waves in the ocean. Do not judge them or try to push them away. Simply watch them, acknowledge their presence, and let them pass. This is the essence of mindfulness." He placed a reassuring hand on the man's shoulder. "You have made an important discovery. Now you are ready to practice true mindfulness. Go back, and this time, when you sit to meditate, let your thoughts be. If tigers come, let them come. If they go, let them go. Do not fight them. Watch them with a detached curiosity. In this way, your mind will eventually find its own calm." The man felt a sense of clarity and relief wash over him. The master's words resonated deeply, illuminating the path he needed to take. With renewed determination and understanding, he thanked the Zen master, bowing deeply in gratitude. As he left the monastery, the weight on his shoulders felt lighter, and his steps more assured. He was ready to embrace the true practice of mindfulness, to observe his thoughts without resistance, and to find the peace that had eluded him for so long. The Zen master smiled gently, a warm, understanding smile that seemed to radiate peace and wisdom. He gestured for the man to sit down beside him on the stone bench beneath the cherry tree. The man, still fraught with anxiety but eager for guidance, settled down, his eyes fixed on the master. "Sit down, my friend," the Zen master began softly, his voice as calm as the gentle breeze rustling the cherry blossoms. "Let me explain something about the nature of the mind." He paused, allowing the tranquility of the moment to seep into the man's restless heart. "The mind," the Zen master continued, "is like a playful monkey. Imagine a monkey swinging from branch to branch, full of energy and curiosity. The more you try to catch or control this monkey, the more it resists and jumps around even more frantically. This is exactly how our mind behaves when we try to forcefully control it." The man listened intently, his previous frustration slowly giving way to a deeper understanding. The Zen master's analogy resonated with him, painting a vivid picture of his own struggles. "By telling you not to think of a tiger," the master went on, "I demonstrated how the mind clings to what we try to avoid. When you focus on not thinking about something, it ironically becomes the very thing your mind fixates on. This exercise was meant to show you the futility of trying to suppress your thoughts." The man nodded, beginning to see the wisdom in the master's seemingly perplexing instruction. His mind had indeed clung to the image of the tiger, making it impossible to think of anything else. The Zen master continued, "The key is not to suppress your thoughts, but to observe them without attachment. Imagine your thoughts as clouds passing through the sky. You cannot stop them from forming or floating by, but you can watch them without being affected by them. Let them come and go as they please, without trying to control or judge them." He paused to let his words sink in, his gaze steady and compassionate. "When you observe your thoughts without attachment, you allow them to pass naturally. This way, your mind will gradually become calm, just as the sky clears after the clouds have drifted away. You will find that the more you practice this detached observation, the less power your thoughts have over you." The man's eyes widened with realization. The Zen master's lesson was profound yet simple. It wasn't about battling the mind, but about understanding and observing it. "Remember," the master added, "mindfulness is about being present and aware, not about controlling or suppressing. Practice observing your thoughts like a witness without getting caught up in them. Over time, you will find that your mind becomes a place of peace rather than a battleground." With these words, the Zen master concluded his lesson, his eyes reflecting the depth of his experience and understanding. The man, now filled with a new sense of clarity and purpose, bowed deeply in gratitude. He felt a weight lift from his shoulders as he absorbed the master's wisdom. Leaving the monastery, the man walked away with a lighter heart and a clearer mind. He understood that the journey to inner peace wasn't about forcefully quieting the mind, but about observing it with calm detachment. Armed with this newfound knowledge, he was ready to embrace the true practice of mindfulness and find the tranquility he had been seeking. The man took the master's advice to heart, carrying the wisdom like a precious gem in his mind. He returned home with a renewed sense of purpose, determined to embrace the practice of mindful observation. Finding a quiet spot in his house, he settled down, his body relaxed and his mind open to the experience. He closed his eyes and began to focus on his breath, inhaling deeply and exhaling slowly. This time, he didn't try to forcefully push away any thoughts. Instead, he allowed them to surface naturally, watching them like clouds drifting across the sky. As expected, the image of tigers appeared once again. But instead of battling these thoughts, he observed them with a detached curiosity, acknowledging their presence without trying to change or suppress them. At first it was challenging. The tigers seemed as vivid as ever, prowling the landscape of his mind. However, he remembered the Zen master's words, "Let them come and go." He watched the tigers, noting their form and movement, but without engaging with them emotionally. Slowly, he began to notice a shift. The tigers that once roared and leaped in his thoughts started to lose their intensity. They became like distant echoes, less menacing, less intrusive. Day by day, as he continued this practice, the chaos in his mind began to settle. The man found that the more he practiced observing his thoughts without attachment, the less power they had over him. The tigers, which had once been overwhelming, started to fade into the background, their presence no longer dominating his mental landscape. Instead of fighting the natural flow of his thoughts, he allowed them to come and go as they pleased. He watched them pass by like leaves floating on a stream, acknowledging their existence, but not holding on to them. This mindful observation brought about a profound change. The relentless storm of thoughts began to calm, and a serene stillness took its place. He noticed other changes too. His breathing became more rhythmic, his body more relaxed. The restlessness that had plagued him started to dissipate, replaced by a growing sense of peace. The once chaotic mind was now a tranquil sanctuary, where thoughts appeared and disappeared without causing turmoil. As the days turned into weeks, the practice of mindfulness became a cherished part of his daily routine. He no longer feared his thoughts or tried to control them. Instead, he embraced them as part of his inner landscape, watching them with a gentle curiosity. The tigers that had once haunted him were now mere whispers, easily acknowledged and then let go. The man felt a deep sense of gratitude for the Zen master's wisdom. He had learned that true peace came not from suppressing the mind, but from understanding and observing it. By letting go of the struggle, he had found a tranquility that he had never thought possible. His life began to transform. The stress and anxiety that once dominated his days were now manageable, replaced by a calm resilience. He moved through his daily activities with a newfound ease, his mind clear and focused. The lessons of the Zen master had not only quieted the chaos within, but had also brought a lasting sense of peace and balance to his life. Through this journey, he realized that the mind, like a wild monkey or a prowling tiger, could not be tamed by force. It required patience, understanding, and a gentle touch. By practicing mindful observation, he had discovered the true nature of peace, a peace that resided within him all along, waiting to be uncovered. Finding peace in the midst of chaos is a profound journey, one that many of us undertake in our bustling, stress-filled lives. It is easy to fall into the trap of believing that peace comes from silencing the mind, from forcefully pushing away the thoughts that disturb us. But the lesson from the Zen master and his visitor teaches us a different approach, one that is rooted in understanding rather than control. Peace is not achieved by waging a war against our thoughts. The mind, by its very nature, is a realm of constant activity, with thoughts flitting about like butterflies in a garden. Attempting to suppress these thoughts is akin to trying to capture the wind. The more we struggle, the more elusive it becomes. Mindfulness, however, offers a gentle and effective alternative. It teaches us to observe our thoughts without attachment, to watch them as we would watch clouds drifting across the sky or leaves floating down a stream. This practice of mindful observation allows us to acknowledge our thoughts without being overwhelmed by them. It is in this non-judgmental awareness that we find the key to inner peace. The lesson of the Zen master highlights the futility of trying to control the mind. When we resist our thoughts, we give them power. They grow stronger, more persistent. But when we simply observe them, without trying to change or suppress them, they lose their grip on us. The mind, like a playful monkey or a prowling tiger, settles down when it is not resisted. By practicing mindfulness, we allow our minds to find their natural equilibrium. The chaos within us begins to settle, and a serene stillness emerges. This inner peace is not something that can be forced. It is something that unfolds naturally when we learn to watch our thoughts without attachment. So, the next time chaos threatens your peace, remember the lesson of the Zen master. Do not fight your thoughts or try to control them. Instead, observe them with a calm and open heart. Let them come and go as they please, and you will discover that tranquility lies not in the absence of thoughts, but in the acceptance and understanding of them. In the quiet corners of our minds, peace is always within reach. It is a gentle presence that emerges when we stop struggling and start observing. By embracing the practice of mindfulness, we can navigate the storms of our thoughts and find a profound sense of calm and balance. This is the true essence of finding peace in chaos, not through control, but through understanding and acceptance. As you continue on your journey, carry this wisdom with you. Let it guide you through the turbulent moments, reminding you that peace is not a distant goal, but a present reality waiting to be uncovered. With mindful observation, you can transform the chaos within and discover the tranquility that resides in the depths of your being.